Hi everyone, welcome to our meeting called Continuing Oppression of Mongolians in China and Case Study of Bayangol, and organized by Southern Mongolian Human Rights Information Center, and we have numerous sponsoring organizations. If you look at the first page of the meeting agenda, you will see the organization name. So again, I would like to thank everyone coming here today to join us. So we will officially start our meeting, and the first speaker is going to be Enghebatu. He is going to make opening remark. And with that, for life, let's go. The Hamakune Yarati will Enghebatu. Enghebatu will in New York and Virginia. Umnut Mongin Unekin Surapjankin Tubin director, but Ubermongin Bero Shukasister, and Amrak Kirat Arab Chilvonchega. That is Nasawa and Umnut Mongin Unekin Surapjankin Tubin Churajlat, no Urmong Chutit, all Nervanatilisni, Tanos Burmutiga. Enghebatu is founder and director of Southern Mongolian Human Rights Information Center, born and raised in Southern Mongolia. He came to the United States in 1998. Since then, along with other members of SMHRIC, he has worked to raise awareness of Southern Mongolian issues to international community. Now, welcome Enghebatu to the podium.
Channel be in Istilan opening remark Angelic was Generado and the Brunswick Angelic Doctor Alchwach Asata and my witness was Australia that's Mongols and the which is Mongolia also Angelic National Chess. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this very important and unique conference, specifically designed to raise awareness and open up the discussion of Southern Mongolian human rights issues. We have our friends, supporters, and distinguished guests from Japan, Mongolia, Sweden, Canada, of course, from here in the United States. The title of this conference is Continuing Oppression of the Mongolians in China. A case study of Bayangol. The reason why we chose the case of Bayangol is that Bayangol is a Mongolian area in China's so-called Xinjiang Autonomous Region, where a few months ago the Mongolian school was removed and the Mongolian students were forced to learn in Chinese. By no means, this is the only and isolated case. As part of China's assimilation policy, systematic elimination of Mongolian schools, Mongolian language institutions have long been practiced by the Chinese authorities in Southern Mongolia since the very beginning of the colonial regime. The same is true for the case of our Tibetan and Uyghur friends as well. We are also pleased to have our Tibetan friend Nat Wang Darchin, he is on his way, and originally our Uyghur friend Omar Khanat will be showing up, but due to some family emergency, he cannot, unfortunately, he cannot make it to today. And we will share the stories of our friends, Tibetan friends also. We also have our Mongolian brothers and sisters from other occupied nations, like Buryat and Kalmyk and Hazara. Before touching upon the panel specifics, I think it's necessary for me to say a few words of some of the terminologies we've been using. For example, Southern Mongolia. So a lot of people say, especially in a Western English-speaking world, what is Southern Mongolia? Isn't it Inner Mongolia? And well, it is, but in other sense, it is not. Let us first look at the term Inner Mongolia. It is a direct translation of Chinese term Nemongo, which is a highly propagandistic and insanely Sinocentric and willfully distorted terminology. Why is highly propagandistic? Because it conveys the message of Chinese territorial claim over Southern Mongolia, claiming that this part of Mongolia is part of China. And why is it Sinocentric? The Chinese believe that China is the center of the world and also center of universe. Therefore, if you stand in China, Southern Mongolia is inner, inside, and close to them, that's why inner, and Northern Mongolia, or independent country of Mongolia, is outer. That's why Chinese always use inner and outer Mongolia. Even though the so-called outer Mongolia is an independent country right now, a lot of Chinese still say, hey, outer Mongolia. It's not an independent country of Mongolia. So, but if you stand in Ulaanbaatar or Karakorum, look at the map. So, the Inner Mongolia is actually independent country of Mongolia, and we are maybe Buryat and Southern Mongolia are outer. If you stand in center of Mongolia, it's Mongolia proper. So this is very Sinocentric, the so-called inner Mongolia from the Chinese side. It's a very Sinocentric terminology. So why is it willfully distorted terminology? Because the Chinese desperately need to rewrite not only our history, but also their own, to include Southern Mongolia as into their so-called inseparable part of Chinese historical territory since time immemorial, or so-called in Chinese is 自古以来中国不可分割的一部分. That is the main reason why I call this is a very willfully distorted terminology. Now let us look at the original Mongolian term Ormong, which has no meaning whatsoever of inner. You have Overhanga, Arhanga in independent country of Mongolia or North Mongolia. Do we call it inner Hanga or outer Hanga? No, right? It's so clear. So when we use all these terminology, we have to be conscious about what we are, who we are helping and to promote what ideology. So another important thing I would like to point out about this terminology is that the English terminology, Southern Mongolia, is not my invention, it's not SMHRIC invention, it's not the invention of just few scholarly, unqualified, slogan-shouting reactionaries. This actually been there for decades, centuries probably. U.S. ambassador to China, William Rockwell, from 1905 to 1909, always used Southern Mongolia in his official diplomatic notes. Also, most importantly, Southern Mongolians themselves call themselves Southern Mongolia. This is very important, right? We have control over how we call our name, right? Well, the others should not just, hey, we call you Inner Mongolia, but we call ourselves in our language Old Mongol, which is Southern Mongolia. So, as you all know, terminologies for an oppressed people or nation have always a very difficult and sensitive matter. In the United States, for example, African Americans were once called with N-word, right? But thanks to African American tireless effort, this was abolished and no longer they call them with N-word, right? So, in this sense, the use of Southern Mongolia instead of Inner Mongolia is not just a matter of terminology, use of terminology. It is really a movement for decolonization, a movement for reclaiming our national identity, national dignity, and national sovereignty. With this clearance, let me turn back to the panels of the conference. We have 4 panels. The first one is the last lesson of Bayangol, which will specifically discuss about China's elimination of Mongolian schools in Mongolian areas, particularly in Bayangol. The second panel is the broader context of human rights violation in Southern Mongolia. We will hear in-depth analysis from experts and guests from Japan, Mongolia, Sweden, on various human rights issues and Chinese policies. The third panel is United We Stand, Voice of Oppressed Peoples and Nations. In this panel, we will hear from representatives of Tibet, East Turkistan, Southern Mongolia, and China, and also voice from UNPO, the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization, the most active international organization that helps occupied nations to have their voice heard to the world about their respective issues and the common sufferings that we share. The last but not least panel is Oppression Without Borders, Voice of Solidarity. Partitioned into many countries, large part of historical Mongolia has been occupied by not only by China, but also by Russia. In this panel, we will share the stories and hear the voices of solidarity of our Buryat, Kalmyk, and Hazara brothers and sisters who are facing the same problems under oppressive regimes in their respective territories. With this, I would like to thank again all of you, especially for our friends and supporters from Japan, Mongolia, Europe, who took long flights to come to attend this conference. I wish you a successful and fruitful discussion in the panel to follow. Thank you.